Hey guys, Pluto is getting ready to move into Aquarius, and this is my third video on the topic. You'll be there on the 23rd of March, 24th, depending on where you live, until June 11th. This is a first taster, teaser of what is going to be a transit that impacts the world and you individually based on your rising sign, and it's going to impact you until 2044. This is going to be a sea change of energy in your sky. And today I have a wonderful guest with me who's going to go into how the 2023 tiptoe of Pluto into Aquarius will actually feel for you as your rising sign. Best to listen for your rising, not your sun. And my guest today is Erika Robison. She is the author of The Language of LeNormand, a practical guide for everyday divination, and it is about the LeNormand, ancient LeNormand tarot system that is, I think, from the 1800s. She'll tell us more. She's an expert authority, and her book is a bestseller. So she's going to be diving in with us and talking about a little bit of intuition using the LeNormand tarot for your sign. So get ready for that. Don't forget, if you don't know how to cast your rising sign, look in my description box below for my free video tutorial. All you're going to need is your book, your time of birth. And lastly, if you're new to my channel, I am Lori Lothian. I'm a whole sign house Hellenistic astrologer using the Western tropical zodiac. I love asteroids and I love the tarot. I've been doing tarot cards since I was in my 20s and I'm 60 now. So when we talk tarot of any kind, I'm totally down. So let's get going. And if you want to know anything about me, check my description box. I'll be having links to Erika Robison, author of The Language of the LeNormand, below. Now she's coming into the Zoom room, so I'm going to let her in now, and we're going to get rolling on your sign for 2023 Pluto ingress.
No, wait.
Oh, we're on. Here I have her. I just let her into the room. Hi, Erika.
Hi, Lori. Good to see you.
You too, beautiful. So she's a California girl, but she used to live in New York. Can you tell us, New York City, can you tell us a bit about why you're this expert authority, which the world does recognize you as, in the Lenormand tarot system, and how that actually became a passion for you?
So Lenormand actually has zero to do with tarot. That's the first thing. And I first studied tarot after my husband passed away suddenly. And I was, of course, looking for answers. And then I found LeNormand, about which there was nothing written in English. So there were resources in French, there were resources in German. So I sort of plowed my way as best I could. And then I went online and read for thousands and thousands of people free, just to kind of get my muscles going. And what I didn't know is that the greats of the Lenormand world, the Cartomancy world, watch what you do. You don't necessarily see them on these forums, but they're watching the work that you do. And so then I got, complimented and pushed from there. And that's what happened. What I love about Lenormand, though, is that unlike tarot, which is a very imagistic system, like you could do a reading with one card, right? Because there's so much in a given picture, and so much to do with astrology, with numerology, with all kinds of things. Well, Lenormand is very different. Lenormand is a word language, and it's comprised traditionally of 36 archetypal words, like tree, house, dog, that kind of thing. So you learn the words, and then you string them together, just like we learned how to read, right? And you can read See Spot Run, and you're reading Lenormand, or you can read like it's Toni Morrison or Emily Dickinson or whatever. And I've taught English for 30 years, and so I teach people how to write. I am a writer, and so I think the reason that I got known is just that I add a little bit of flair, linguistic flair, to the system, and I'm always accurate. What can I say?
Yeah, I do have a deck myself, everyone. I just got out and bought. I met Erika a few years ago and I got interested myself. So I ended up buying a deck and sort of half-assed playing with it. And what I do love about it is the way that when you do this kind of a spread too, you can do all kinds of like kitty corners, one corner to the next corner, or these shapes that remind you of how the rook moves in chess and stuff. And so It's actually very complex only in the way that you can string those words together in so many different ways of making meaning.
Well, just like, think about it. There are only 26 letters in the alphabet, right? And yet, everything that's ever been said or written in the English language is comprised of just those 26 letters in different configurations. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I actually quite like it. It's not my specialty at all. I kind of play around with it casually, but I'm certainly not, don't think I'll ever dive in. And it's an old system, right? It comes from France or Europe or something.
It's not ancient. I'll say that for it. It's not. I would say it's from the 1800s, the early 1800s. It was actually didn't have a name originally. Madame LeNormand, the person for whom it's named, never used it. It was a marketing device. She was a very, very famous medium and clairvoyant. And so whoever devised this system said, let's just slap her name on it and it'll be a big seller. But really, she had nothing to do with it. But yes, it's French, it's German. There are two traditional ways of reading it. I have picked one of those two traditions and then riffed on it. So I kind of do my own thing. And I think that another reason that I'm popular is that there's no book out by an American prior to mine, which will come out October 2nd. And so I read in a very American way, a system that is very European, but also very well known in places like Brazil, Russia, just odd places that you wouldn't think. Australia, it's very well known there.
Oh, okay, that's great. So you're the American voice for this. This is so
Yes.
cool. So wonderful. And yeah, like I can't wait to try this out today. I haven't actually had a tarot reader on in this capacity, sorry, Cartomancy person on in this capacity before with my channel. So let's give it a try. So we're going to start with the Aries, and I'll just say a couple words, everybody, about the astrology, but I've got two long, in-depth videos about how this plays out in everybody's chart based on the rising sign. So the last thing I'm going to do is repeat that story. So let me just say a couple words about each sign and then let Erika give us sort of an overview for each sign. Sound good, Erika?
Sounds good.
Yay. So we're going to start with Aries. Sorry, Aries always gets to go first, but what the hell? They are the first sign in the tropical Western zodiac. So they get to get that cred by good reason. Aries, sun, moon, but most accurate rising. So, the Aquarian zone where Pluto will enter for the first and only time in our lives, because Pluto takes 248 years to go around the zodiac, is the 11th house of good spirit. And in the sky, that's one of the most positive houses that exists. So in essence, no matter what goes through that house, it all gets tempered by that quality of a kind of beneficent, lucky, favorable fairy godmother, fairy godfather, great gains from career, success, popularity, sometimes fame, and windfalls house. So I'm not going to repeat any more than that. I'm going to let Erika give us some sort of thoughts about what does LeNormand say about this for Aries folk in the year of 2023. We're focusing on how it feels, everybody, this year, because this is a 40-year, 30-year, 20-year transit to 2044. So we're going to give you the vibe of that March through June ingress and how this might play out and feel for you as an Aries.
So this is really interesting. With Aries, I pulled three cards. One is the Tower, the Coffin, and then the Mice. Really interesting. So the Tower is nothing like the Tarot Tower. The Tower has to do with all things official. So could be governmental, could be the place where you work, anything governmental. But it looks as though there's going to be some big shifts happening because the Coffin is the card for transformation. Now, of course, transformations, even if they're wonderful and exciting and terrific, are still scary. So the last card we have in the line for this particular year is Mice. And what you're being asked to do is to not be anxious about this. Transformation is good. Stasis, who wants to stay stuck in stasis? So there's big change coming, I think, on a pretty significant front with the Tower, because again, anything official, anything to do with where you work, any kind of physical structure, not so much your home, but more to do maybe with your work and sort of the government as a whole, to be aware of that.
That's wonderful. I think that as an Aries sun and moon, I'll take it. Just a question I have about that is that when we say structures, do we?
Sure I understand.
What was that, Siri?
Somebody's theory, yeah, I guess.
That's so funny. Do we have, you mean institutional structures, bureaucratic or corporate, or
Yes,
all of the above?
yes, all of the above.
Okay.
Look for huge shifts on that happening on that level. And again, don't be scared. I think of the LeNormand mice in two ways. On the one hand, yes, sometimes there's stress, anxiety, they nibble away. But sometimes I think of them as the Disney mice. If you remember those mice, they were very bad tempered and kept bumping into each other all over the place until they were given a task, until they saw clearly what their mission was, which in that case, of course, was to help Cinderella get ready for the ball. And at which point they took all of that energy, that nervous energy, and they directed it in a way that was productive. So I think that's the advice, is to not be swept up or sort of blown over by what's coming in the larger zeitgeist, but to be excited about what's coming in. So I think it's exciting.
That's wonderful. And with for Aries during the second part of that, like Pluto ingress, starting May 16th to June 11th, you're going to have that blessing of Jupiter in their second house, which does flow to the 10th house of institutions, right? That's why I was trying to refine that. So yeah, basically it feels exciting, but a little bit scary.
Scary, right?
Okay. All righty. That's my vibe there from what you said. Okay, let's keep on rolling and talk to you Taurus rising people, but sun and moon as well, guys. So don't forget, both of them, sun and moon, can be about mom and dad. So listen for your rising. If you know what that is, prioritize that. For you guys, this is a big 10th house preparation energy this year. And in 2023, you get the first teaser taste of what is going to be, a transit till 2044, transforming your career space. You can get a lot more of that detail in my other Pluto videos. But the gist is, it's basically your reputation, career, visible action in the world, how you show up with what you think is a meaningful purpose that the world watches you do. That's your 10th house. It's kind of high noon of the OK Corral. It's where, you can't hide, right? Everyone sees what's going on for you. So what do you have about that zone for the wonderful Taurus rising sun and moon people?
I have stars, I have fish, and I have letter. Now, so the stars speaks to hope and speaks to the future. Fish is about two things that seem widely disparate. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. One is money, and the other is emotion. Sometimes those two things are connected, right? Sometimes they're not. The final card is letter, and letter is anything in writing, anything in writing. But when I look at it together with the stars and the fish, it feels like it's good financial news coming in some written form. And, in the olden days, when we said written form, we meant in the US or Canadian Postal Service. But now anything in writing, it can be an email, it can be a text, anything in writing, but it's good news about things financial moving forward.
That is so good to hear for the Taurians of the world. I know a few of them who are going to really be happy to hear that. You know what I mean? It's like, whew, okay, sweet. Plus, I like the star. I know the star doesn't necessarily mean like being a star, but the 10th house is where you can't hide, and often you're highly, highly visible. So I just kind of like the word fits with the 10th house in the tarot. All righty. And then, of course, we're going to keep going to the Gemini folk. So listen for your rising sign, Gemini. We're kind of narrowing down, if you didn't listen to the intro, how you might feel with this Pluto ingress, beginning in around the March 23rd to the June 11th timeframe, as it's sort of a bell note, keynote, pitch pipe vibe of the next 20 years of your story. So Geminis, this is happening for you, Pluto tiptoeing at the 0 degrees of your 9th house of God, religion, spirituality, higher education, book publishing, great for that. And also getting in touch with your deepest, like your own unique righteous action, the Dharma, the meaning of how your actions can align with the Tao and really move you into a more true place. And certainly it involves faith and what keeps you ticking, because you believe something like, God is good, or the universe is a friendly place. And also it is a zone of academia, especially higher educational colleges and campuses. And if you have a third marriage on the go, it's that part of your chart too. What do you have, Erika?
I have the mountain, crossroads, or paths, as it's called in this deck, and birds. So this is really interesting. A word about the mountain. people see a mountain, and of course you think it's a block, right? And it is a block, and you cannot move forward. But the good thing about that mountain is it gives you an opportunity to stop and assess and retool your approach, right? You could go up a mountain, but then did you think about the fact that maybe you're afraid of heights? You know, you could go around a mountain, but do you have enough provisions to carry you through that trip? If you sit at the foot of that mountain long enough, what could happen is you could say, wait a minute, I'm staring at this mountain and I feel like I see daylight all the way through. Maybe there's a path all the way just through the mountain that you never saw before. So the mountain is an opportunity to stop. Now stop for what? Well, the next one is paths, which is also called crossroads. Crossroads is about choices. You don't want to be hasty here. You want to stop and assess your choices. Also, with birds, birds is the card for communication. So it's really suggesting that you not think of yourself as alone at that mountain, having to make this unilateral choice, but it's asking you to sort of enlist support in the form of colleagues, friends, associates, etc., who can help you navigate that mountain and make those choices.
I like that. I also like the fact that mountain can be seen like we always go to the mountain to see the guru on the top, because the house of God happens to do with, the gurus and the wise men as well, and women, wise women. Beautiful, beautiful. And I feel like when you talked about like the ways we can perceive something, in this case, also a choice, I do feel that's something we often forget. You think that this like go this way is the way, but just sit and be still and hear that voice within too. That's ninth house energy, the inner voice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And reflecting on now the old Cancer people of the world, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let me just shout them out. Pluto's finally leaving your seventh house after, forever, 2008 till kind of now. And so that's been a very intense energy in marriages and business partnerships or with client-based people in your life. Oh, it's going to be done. That means that Pluto's now moving this year, March the 11th to March the 23rd to June the 11th, into your eighth house of money that doesn't necessarily belong to you, but you can get your clutches on. So it's the eighth house of inheritances, spousal resources, stock investments, passive and residual income, money that comes in chunks rather than through an earned, reliable, steady stream like your paychecks. And this is also occult mysteries, especially, all of the stuff like the tarot and the cartomancy, as well as things to do with psychology when we go deep, like archetypal or depth psychology can be found in the eighth house. It's a very spiritual house, lastly, can lead to spiritual awakening or liberation by blasting through the ego and no longer believing you are who you think you are. What do you have, Erika?
So I did get one repeat card, but because it's in a different placement, it might mean something different. So I have first the stork. Second is our repeat card, the mice. And the third card is the heart. Now in LeNormand, the stork is always, always, always about change that is positive. So that's right in line with what you talked about before. I think that means that our Disney, our mice can be in fact those Disney mice, excitement. And about something that you love. When we see the heart there, it's about something that you love, positive change that will be really exciting, that will set you on a course of something that you love. This is an anatomical heart, but really we're talking about something really amazing.
Beautiful. It's interesting because at a deep level, there's moksha houses, they're called 4, 8, and 12. And they're really about that deep transformation of self away from the limited, fearful mind, ego, chattering monkey mind, everything about being a human without the deeper layer active. And so, of course, to me, the heart is always where it happens. We don't come unconditionally loving and one with the universe if our heart is like dead in the water.
Well, then that makes perfect sense, because if you've got stork, which is positive change about that whole stressy way of acting and living, change for the better, again, for the sake of your heart and your heart's desire.
Yeah, yeah, that's gorgeous. And in spiritual terms too, the chakra of the heart, there's two. There's the spiritual heart center, which is different than the normal heart chakra people talk about in chakra land, and it has to do with also just awakening that divine portal that exists within us, a little bit to the right of our real heart. Is like an incredible, like a wormhole to transformation. So all these eighth house themes are also showing up in your cards. So we're moving into Leo people next. So the fiery Leos of the world have had, by the way, again, I congratulated the last time, but even you had Pluto in your sixth house since 2008. That could have made it very difficult in many areas of your life as you burned off a lot of karmic debt through relationships that had residual needs to finish up old stories with someone's soul, basically. So some very deep karmic relationships for a while in your life, but that kind of karmic house cleaning is ending. And now you're looking at Pluto moving through your seventh house of marriage, significant partnerships, business and love, as well as the way you reach out to your audience or marketplace, if that's something that's meaningful to your career path. And Pluto just brings you wealth and power, but powerful people can step into your life. And you may feel a bit of this, March, April, May, until June 11th, as this new beginning is giving you a foretaste of what's here over the next 2 decades. How about you? What do you get?
Well, I heard you use the word power, and I thought, oh my gosh, these cards are really good. So we have the house, we have the whip, and we have the man. So let me say a word about these. Sometimes a house is a house, but sometimes a house is also sort of our physical self, the thing that houses our soul, right? And the card in the middle, the whip, is calling for discipline, not, discipline, and also with the man at the end, with a yang approach to whatever's coming in, to feel at home with being disciplined in that way, and also feeling like you have a right to ownership of yourself in that powerful yang kind of way.
I also find it fascinating, Erika, I really do, that like the only house in the deck, there's the house of children, the house of siblings, but the house that represents love relationship, which is a type of person, either a man or a woman. I know LeNormand has 2 men and 2 women in the deck. That a man, the image of a human other, is attending to the card you drew for the 7th house. That's just incredible. I mean, it could also just kind of be indicative of how important those others in your life are as you are using that yang discipline, get things whipped up into shape.
Right,
Or it could be a sub-dom relationship coming your way. Sorry, with Pluto, anything's possible.
True.
Okay, I like the feel of that, and for all of you Leos out there listening to this, congratulations on what's going to be a very intense transformation of that 7th house. It's going to change, I think, the type of way you operate with those other people in your life, as well as the types of people you bring in. It's kind of like, what it is like, right, Erika, when you see somebody, if you can adopt the stance of the types of people you draw in. If you're drawing in Pluto people, you're drawing in big and huge, intense power people. So that powers up the Leos as well.
Makes sense.
Sort of like the mirror of the other side. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. If you're a Virgo, you're moving into a time after Pluto spent forever in your house of romantic love and children since 2008, where you're getting rid of that story. And this March 11th through March 23rd to June 11th, my brain is going to open up a new story this year where you're going to feel what it'll be like for 20 as Pluto goes through your 6th house. Now, Pluto in the 6th house will bring up karmic relationships, no doubt about it. They don't have to be love relationships. They can be. There's going to be a time over the next 20 years where a lot of people in your life that show up are definitely soulmates or past life contacts. Some of you have a debt relationship to fulfill or complete, but that doesn't have to be difficult. It's also a time in which your health can have powerful transformations. And if you're going to get a pet, you're going to get a Great Dane or some just massive Mastiff or something, because Pluto doesn't like little tiny dogs unless they have a big bark. So pets are here, new kinds of powerful transformation through the animals in your home, and also potentially an ability to power up the ability here to reduce your debt dramatically. And if you are debt laden, because real debt, not just karmic debt, can be a part of the 6th house story. Get ready for some of that. Let's see what the LeNormand has to say.
Well, interesting and a little bit sobering. So we have the rider, We have again the man, and then we have the snake. Now, the rider is about news coming in, a message coming in. And it seems to me the message coming in is, to whatever degree there are issues, snake, that you need to deal with, that your best course of action is not to sort of close your eyes and pull the covers over your head and hope that those things go away, but rather just to sort of take the bull by the horns and handle your business. But you have to do that. You have to do that. That's the rider card saying there's things coming down the pike. Don't act like you don't see them. If you address them in a timely manner, systematically, then you'll be okay. Much better off than see no evil, hear no evil, speak no.
No blinders allowed. Well, that does
No blinders allowed.
And having a man, again, a relational card, because it's a human being really, in a house in which you can have karmic people show up in your life to dispense some sort of unresolved issues with, is pretty darn cool, actually, if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that I thought of as I pulled those cards, and you said, there may be karmic relationships that need to be sort of rounded out, sanded off, finished. And then you said, it doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't necessarily feel good, but it is good. There's a difference sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, those karmic energies, by the way, I mean, by unbundling whatever knots you have with people that you may not even know yet, because this could bring these new people in. So I'm saying, like, look for new people showing up during this 4 month of Pluto transit this year. Get ready for those people to be more important than you think, but also maybe there is resolution needed here. And maybe they owe you something, which is wonderful too. Maybe, it's a debt they owe you, and that could look really good on your own life as well. That's the other way to spin that.
Right.
Favors from friends from past lives who are very powerful. Okay, let's keep going and talk about the people who are Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign folk. So Libra, it's been a journey of Pluto moving through your 4th house. This is your home life, private life, real estate, property, the house of the mother. A lot of people with this transit of Pluto in the 4th house ever since 2008 may have found those areas to be deeply transformative, basically. And it certainly could have powered you up financially, but also could be loss of mother or inheritance monies from the family of origin. A lot of those things could have definitely happened over the last 14 years. But now this Pluto transit moves into the 5th house. Now the 5th house is one of the 2 lucky, there's 3 very lucky houses, 9, 11, and 5. Now 5 is called the house of good fortune. So it is already like given the idea of like get your lucky horseshoe going. It's where you can win lotteries and gaming monies. It's like money luck through speculation. Pluto is a wealth planet. That's positive. You might get a foretaste of some bounteous money luck then coming up for you sometime really quickly, between the 23rd or 4th of March, depending on where you live, through to June 11th. But it's a flavor of the next 20 years. And when it comes to love and romance, you're not going to go into shallow love relationships or sexual relationships. Pluto wants to go very deep, very, very deep. This is like, going down, diving to the depths of, soul searing, amazing depths of connection with others in love. And certainly your children and the relationships you have with them can be transformed over the next 2 decades. Any thoughts you have, Erika?
Yes, I do have another repeat. We have the snake coming first, followed by the key, which is my favorite card, followed by the anchor. And, I'm a Libra rising myself. So when you talked about 2008, that's the year that I was widowed, and everything just really shifted and changed. I would call that my snake experience, my snake period. But all of that is not for nothing. All of that is sort of part of the story, part of the picture, and all things sort of work together for good. And I say that because the next card is the key. You might have said, why did those things have to happen? Why did that succession of things have to happen? Well, you didn't know, but now you know. You will find out in this particular transit why that is, because keys unlock things. They open doors. And the final card is the anchor. An anchor is such an oxymoronic instrument. Because on the one hand, it can keep us safely at birth if we're, a ship in a storm. On the other hand, I don't know, if the mafia runs out of cement overshoes, they may be, tempted to wrap an anchor around your ankles and sink you to the depths of the East River. I'm from New York, so there we go. So you have to decide, are you going to make this snake experience that you've already been through? This is not anything coming in. What are you gonna do with that key? Are you gonna turn this anchor into the thing that keeps you sunk and stuck, or the thing that keeps you safe and grounded? That's the choice.
Interesting. Also, the snake energy is often connected to, just as a general vibe, the Kundalini archetype. And there's so much depth of Pluto energy in this sort of robust sexual energy house. So that's.
I will say, never, ever, never, though, in LeNormand. Here's a fun fact about LeNormand. The snake is three things, I would say. A problem, which could be anything. A snake is also an indication of same-sex relationship, which is perfectly fine. It's just that's one of the meanings. The third meaning that LeNormandists tend to sort of give very short shrift to, but it is a meaning, is a clever woman. A clever woman. So it's never Kundalini, because that's a different tradition, of course, but a clever woman. So are you going to be a clever woman, if you're a woman listening to this, right? And use that key to turn that anchor into the thing that will best serve you.
That's beautiful. That's really cool that a snake is a clever woman. Well, it's an interesting association, because snake often has negative associations in our mind, but being clever is a gift. So
Right.
we want to be clever. It's like, it's good to be clever. Wonderful. Yeah, I know, I get what you're saying, because the archetype brought that to mind doesn't mean that Cartomancy tradition has a crossover. But same-sex relationship is also interesting too for any Libra risings listening out there. Pluto then kind of there in the house of sexuality. This card could suggest that there may be doors opening over the next 2 decades for that potential kind of relationship in your life, if that interests you, of course. All right, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Pluto finally leaving your third house after since 2008, almost 14 years, and he's going to be entering a third house of siblings and travel and education and neighborhood stories and the online world and things like that. It's kind of a very busy house. It has a lot of meanings. It's even your kind of daily life, the things you do on the daily in your neighborhood, to and fro. So Pluto there has just been transforming that in some way over the last few years, and siblings, of course. So transformations in those relationships. But now he's moving into your fourth house, and that fourth house is your really rock bottom, where you live. Like, what are you going to do? You have to have food, shelter, and water, a home, a nest, a place where you reside, and a place where you feel safe. And, your emotional safety is in the fourth house, as well as your actual physical needs that have to be tended to. You will find that you're deeply in the mode of your homeland energy or your family of origin energy as well. It's the house of the mother. And the things that are happening down there are private from the world. So even if there's transformation going on, it's not really always necessarily going to be visible to the rest of the world. So pay attention to March the 23rd through to about June 11th for the first foretaste of a couple of decades of this energy going through. And lastly, you can get kind of wealthy here, especially if it has to do with investing in the stock market, sometimes legacy wealth from inheritances, and sometimes a big wealth chunk from anything to do with property, lands, purchase and sale. And that's foretaste coming up. But deep soul work is in the fourth house. It's one of the liberation houses. So you can leave this transformation completely changed. As Erika mentioned, she had been completely changed by that transit for her as a Libra rising. What do you have?
So making a third or fourth, I don't know how many appearance. We have the man. We also have the child, and we also have the sun. This is very interesting to me. I mean, we've talked about yang energy. We've talked about the fact that sometimes a man is a man, you never know. But the child, I think, is the card that interests me the most in this little spread, because the child is about something new. And you talked about a foretaste, the child is something new and also something small. So if there are sort of things that you'd like to try that are new approaches or new perspectives, new things, again, like you said, in the quiet of your private space, This is a good time for that before you bring those things to light. It's a good time to sort of tinker with different approaches, to try different things with that child card. But it looks like whatever those things are that you decide to try, those new things, will be successful because of the sun. Sun's the best card in the deck.
That's really lovely. Yeah, you can look at the fourth house energy as an incubator because you're really not ready to like throw it into the 10th house, which is everyone sees what you're doing. And, you know, it's like the secret garden of your soul in a way. And what you do in that little space with Pluto there, and of course, the child indicating something small that you can tend, and all of that is beautiful energy. And the man is sometimes just a man, but how would you interpret that with that energy of the whole thing? Is that like, what is that?
I think it's about not being afraid to try something new, not to say, oh, nobody else is doing that, or maybe I'll wait. It's just to say, you know what, I'm just going to take a little bite out of this apple. I'm just going to see what I think. And over time, I think that, you know, you'll figure out what you should grow and what you should compost. But again, privately and quietly, because so that you can prepare whatever is really great for that outward show to the world. It's really a nice spread. I like those three cards together.
Yeah, I like that too, because eventually, well, Pluto does go into the fifth house in 2044 for all of you Scorpio risings, and anyone of you Scorpio risings who's in the arts of any kind, that's going to be an amazing window of time that starts up then. So depends on how old you are. I'm sure if you're young and hearing this, you're excited. And if you're already 80, you're like, oh, I'll be dead by then. But, you know, but anyway, just to say, you know, that's what happens. Okay, wonderful. Moving into the next sign is Sagittarius, sun, moon, and of course, rising sign. So the Pluto movement away from and out of at last your money house may feel like a time of deliverance from what would have been a lot of pressure on you over the last 14 years to really figure out your money story, especially around your self-worth and value and earnings, and maybe to power up there to the extent that you could. Certainly Pluto is just as much a demolition expert as he is a transformation god. So a few of you probably would have had real financial crises in that window of time. However, at this point, we're moving away from that, thank goodness, and on the 23rd of the month of March to about the June 11th period, there's a foretaste or a foreshadow of the next 2 decades, because that is his early ingress into your third house. Your third house is a lot to do with extended family. Often it's like your siblings for sure, maybe a younger sibling in particular, and then all of your nieces and nephews and cousins and uncles and aunts, all of those people belong there, as well as the short distance travel and skills-based learning you're capable of doing. And also your neighborhood. It's just your good old hood. Now, already I'm wondering, like, you're going to move into like a Pluto neighborhood. What would that look like? Well, Pluto is wealth. So, you know, technically it could be like the beginning of a path over the next couple of decades where you're up-leveling your neighborhood to a more refined or wealthy or lustrous area. But on the other hand, those relationships are getting ready for some serious kick-ass transformation with those extended family members. And if you're a writer, this is amazing. It's a writing house, communications house, and your potency and power will increase dramatically, and you'll get the first taste of it pretty soon as a writer. And what do you think about that, Erika? What's your thoughts on that?
Really interesting. So we have the tree, we have the ring, and then a different one, but nevertheless, the man. I don't know, the women are all asleep today, but you talked about sort of generational, extended family relationships, et cetera. That is one of the meanings for the tree. So that really is perfect. The next card, though, is the ring. And the ring, again, each of these cards has multiple meanings, but in this case, it can be something circular or cyclical, or, you know, some sort of pattern that could really, not for nothing, benefit from being broken. Some sort of generational, relational pattern that could definitely benefit from being broken, because this particular man, I don't know if you can see, but he's borracho, which means he's drinking. He's drinking. And when people drink, they can become under the illusion that things are different than they actually are, right? That some of these cycles are not as bad as they really are. But it's really good to look at those family patterns and keep the ones that serve you, get rid of the ones that don't, and not live under the illusion that everything, just because something's always been the way that it's been, that doesn't mean that that's the way that it should continue.
That's amazing, actually, because in modern astrology, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, and Scorpio for the Sagittarius is the 12th house, which activates things to do with vows and curses and ancestral line stories and addictions as well. So the whole kind of, the drunken guy there, the Baracho, is kind of funny. But yeah, it really does even tie to use the old 12th house stories that Pluto rules as he goes through the house of all of those extended family people.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto is secrets too, Erika, uncovering and unearthing things that may have been buried from underground that we didn't know about.
Well, and families often make promises, whether explicit or tacit, to keep certain things quiet. That's that ring, keep that circle unbroken.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not always the best thing.
It's funny because we put a wedding ring on because it's a symbol of a vow, but in the Nordica, it's like in the Vikings Nordic stuff, it's like there's the oath of the ring of Draupnir, Draupnir, and it has to do with oaths and vows. And so like that ring really does represent something more than just like, here comes the bride and groom. It really is an energy of where we commit, either you said tacitly or explicitly, who knows, into some kind of vow that isn't really good for us.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. Wow. That's really, really cool. I have a few Scorpios in my life. I'm going to be really watching what happens with them. I mean, Sagittarius is in my life. And I got one guy in particular in mind who's really locked in with how his extended family keeps him trapped. So.
Yeah, we're only as trapped as we allow ourselves to be, right?
That's right. You have to see that, you're the one who's got yourself tied up. But until that happens, you feel trapped. Yeah. Right. Alrighty, so Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. It's been the journey of a lifetime because you decided to incarnate into the world at a time where the once every 248-year transit of Pluto through Capricorn would happen while you were alive and kicking to experience it. This is the house of you, particularly rising. Don't forget, Sun can be about your dad, Moon can be about your mom, but this rising sign is you. So you have been deeply and profoundly transformed ever since 2008, and this is completing up this year and next year as well. Is a little bit left over. A lot of Capricorn risings complain that this was like an S show. Okay, just I'll say I'm shit show for them. But the other ones I've talked to who took it on in a kind of a more like everything happens for you, not to you modality, have come out the other end feeling like they know who they really are for the first time in their lives. So this will continue next year a bit for you, but it's mostly coming to a wind down. So right now what we have going on is that Pluto will move through the house of your earnings and money and possessions. Now he's a wealth god. He is the god of the underworld, but that was a wealth god in the ancient traditions, not just like Mr. lurking in the dark, underneath the ground. And this will really totally be able to lift you up financially over the next 2 decades into a greater wealth story. Now, of course, it can also lead you to the other side of the story because you need to come down and up again or be, demolished for a rebuild. But for the most part, it can definitely end with some wealth at the end of the day. And so don't be afraid of Pluto in your second house. And also you may dramatically transform the food styles you eat. It sounds crazy to put Pluto in such a context, but what you put in your mouth, including addictive substances, is where Pluto's going. And therefore he will literally, like a mafia boss, kick that out. So we're going to look at the idea here then for March the 23rd through to June 11th. You're getting the first flavor of this longer 20-year transit. And that's what I've got. What do you have?
So my reading is very much in line with the last part of what you said in terms of people's health habits and that kind of thing. So we have the sun, great card. We have the scythe, and we have the tree. Now, one of the traditional meanings of the tree, in fact, the main meaning really for the tree, is health. It is health in all forms, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. And with that scythe in the middle, the scythe is a farming tool. Again, like the anchor, it sort of does 2 things. On the one hand, if you're in a field of wheat, the blade will cut that wheat. On the other hand, now you've got to carry that wheat from where you cut it over to the wagon where it can be baled. That's why there's a curve in the blade, right? So this is a card which both cuts and reaps. And therefore, it's the card for decisions. So, there will be things about your health that are brought to light, awarenesses that you are willing now to accept that will cause you to make decisions that will benefit your health.
Yes, I love that image of also just, cutting, severing, ending with a scythe, anything that you really shouldn't put in your mouth.
Right.
Because the mouth is a second house. Also, the face is a second house. So, I guess you could transform your appearance with this transit too over the next 20 years in any way you see fit. But certainly, what you ingest happens here. So, goodness gracious, yeah, that's very much about the health. Yeah, food as medicine. So I'm expecting to see a lot of Caps over the years tell me about how they ditch some substance abuse or even just bad food for their bodies. Yeah. Wonderful. So get a foretaste of that, guys, and see how it feels for you in this next while. All right, so I'm an Aquarius rising, sun, moon, and rising, but basically over and over again, I encourage you to all look at your rising sign. We're going to do what Capricorns have done. So what we've had going on now ever since 2008 was a Pluto transit through our 12th house. If you're open to enlightenment or spiritual awakening, that's what that is. That is a total death and rebirth of self. In Moksha Liberation of India, this is the big Monty house where you go all the way to Buddhahood. This is not a small type of liberation. I did have 2 spiritual awakenings in that transit, but it's also a deep dive into the karma, the past lives, your soul, the Akashic records. It's a very subtle place. It's also where your addictions are, and Pluto would definitely could technically have been helping you become more conscious of habits and patterns of self-undoing, sabotage, like where you're your own worst enemy. And I have to say, for my own life, that has been pivotal. Now he's moving into Aquarius, which is you, and that will be a journey that you get a little teaser of coming up, just a taste, this March 23rd, 4th to June 11th. And it can really be the beginning of a long 20-year power up into some more authentic use of your personal power, a deeper, truer sense of self as you unearth hidden parts of your true identity and begin to see what they are, and also to simply transform your concept of self. What I mean by self is I am blank, fill in the blank. That's going to change. By 20 years from now, you are not going to have any of the same I am blanks to fill in. You'll have a whole new set of words for yourself, including everything from the subtle, like I'm a loser, like it's a self-perception, but it may not be true, to I'm a winner, to I'm married, to I'm not married, to I'm single, I'm not single, to I'm a mother, I'm not a mother, whatever. Well, it's the other way. I'm not a mother, I'm a mother. So big changes in identity over the next 20 years. You will have a new palette to describe yourself. Alrighty. And a lot of people say that it's not easy and they're going to all bite their fingernails, but it will be exactly the medicine you need because you incarnated here to experience this transit. It could only happen once every 248 years. So you're going to blame your soul for this. What do you have, Erika?
Well, my reading is in line with yours. We have the whip, we have the garden, and we have the tower. So again, the whip is that discipline card, that determination to change yourself from one iteration to an iteration that's better for you. That is not sort of like you can do it with a lick or a promise, but you do it with discipline and focus and attention. And what will happen is that you will be seen by the wider world, which is the garden. The garden card is the opposite of the house. The house is everything internal. This is everything and everyone external. When you open your door, that's the garden, right? And what you will be seen as is the tower. This is a card here in this particular reading, because remember, cards morph. This is about autonomy, independence, self-actualization. So it makes a lot of sense that you use this discipline so that eventually this thing that you start to feel internally, the shift, becomes visible to the outside world, and you're seen as someone who's powerful and autonomous and independent.
Well, it also makes sense to hear it that way as well, because, all the Aquarians of the world have been christened, initiated, or given a mandate since 2020, when Saturn and Jupiter co-joined in Aquarius 0 degrees on fixed star Altair, the eagle, very powerful powerful star, the eye of the eagle. And the idea there is that over the next 2 decades as well, 2020 to 2040, all things about the Aquarian energy are on. We're on, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on, get on stage. You guys are on. So the Aquarians have a special role for humanity right now. And I'd say sun, moon, and rising, you can all take that on. And then you've got this kind of like power, autonomy, transformation that's ongoing for us over the next 2 decades. It's really cool.
Very cool.
I can't wait to see how that feels for all of us. And just remind you, because this is really hitting you Aquarians, particularly intensely. Certainly, if you know your Aquarius rising is in the first, like, say, 3 or 4 degrees of Aquarius, the next 2 or 3 years are the most transformational. Whereas the later Aquarius is like 27, 28, 29. We'll feel that more so toward like 2039 to 44. So keep that in mind, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I kind of made a joke in my last video, if there's someone heavy breathing outside your bedroom door, does it really matter if they're like on the threshold on the other side or in your room? You really don't, it's like, it's coming in, right? It's like, so you feel it no matter what degree your rising sign is. I don't know. I can think of Pluto as a cross between Darth Vader and give me a benevolent, masterful, powerful figure of some sort. But there's that heavy vibe with Pluto that kind of reminds me of the heavy breathing of Darth Vader. All right, moving on then. Thanks for this co-share. I'm really enjoying this, Erika.
Me too.
Oh yeah, you've heard my channel a year and a half, 2 years ago too. So here we go. We're talking about Pisces sun, Pisces moon, and most accurate, always rising sign people. First of all, the Pisces energy, you guys have experienced, Pluto for a long, long time, in your 11th house. And that is a good house, good spirit. And for some of you Pisces, it meant a lot of productivity and resourcefulness and greater gains in your career path. So a lot of you kind of got more wealthy during that transit, but a lot of you lost friends. The 11th house is 2008 till now. It could have been the death of friendship circles or groups of belonging where you were, you just were done. I'm no longer a part of the da-da-da-da-da group, or they excised or exorcised you or whatever. Or you had the death of people that were friends. Now, I don't mean, I mean friends, not like, family members, or the death of an eldest sibling or elder sibling. But anyway, the gist of Pluto leaving your 11th house is that he's now powering up in a place where he can cause an enlightenment episode. So if something about spiritual awakening interests you, then you've got a good 20-year transit here with a foretaste this March 23rd, 4th to June 11th of what could possibly look like a deep and powerful awakening window of time. You coded for it because this is a once in a lifetime journey that you're experiencing here. And so, it would open your perceptual doors as well, like doors of perception / remembering past lives, Akashic records, tuning into your profound, superconscious, subconscious, unconscious mind, and really letting yourself find the soul, the deepest soul level of awareness you are capable of, as well as practically speaking, if you're generating wealth with him here, is because your work is taking you into context of making money across borders, foreign shores and lands. For some of you, that will be true as well. And you could get quite significantly wealthy over the next 20 years. And okay, Erika, you're on.
So I think my reading probably speaks to the first half mostly of what you said. So we have another repeat. We have the heart. We have a new card, the clouds. And we have the lady, the woman. Very interesting to me because you talked about clarity and people finding new clarity in this transit, in that particular sign. I think sometimes before you can identify something as clarity, it looks confusing, right? You can say, wait, this feels so right and it feels so clear, but really, is that really possible that I'm seeing as clearly as I think that I'm seeing? And so I think that what you're being asked to do is to follow your heart, open your heart, allow the clouds to sort of sit there for a minute and then realize, no, I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. This is the opposite of yang, right? This is yin. So this is about just sitting quietly in what may feel to you like confusion or may feel to other people like confusion, right? If you start having dialogues about some of the stuff that you're thinking, and people are like, wait, what? Just because they're like, wait, what? Doesn't mean that that's where you reside. You know what I mean? It will be clear to you if you just allow that yin part of you to just sit with it. I think sort of be joyful about the fact that you are piercing through clouds in ways that other people aren't, right? And then let that develop. Because as you say, this is a 44-year transit. I think that this is just the beginning of it. Something looks confusing right before the dawn, or it's darkest right before the dawn. But when it gets that dark, that's your sign to say, wait, dawn is coming. And that's true. Just sit with it.
Well, having Pluto in an air sign, clouds do make sense. Aquarian sign is air, not, people sometimes confuse it as water, but it's air. And it's also interesting in modern rulership, Pluto would rule the Scorpio ninth house, which is of course a yin house. It's a Mars's feminine sign. And it's also the house of that connection to the divine and where the revelation of truth can come from. And so I feel like having clouds clear is really good for Pisces, because no offense, Pisces, but you guys can be awfully transcendent and quite muddled and confused because you are so deeply spiritually aware. Like it's the most spiritually transcendent energy of the zodiac, but head in the clouds as well. And, to complement what Erika said, now having Saturn in the house of you is bringing you out of the clouds down to reality, but also making your dreams real. So there's a quality of like coming into more realistic, grounded things from what could be the clouds. And having clouds clear, as you said, is also really a really nice energy for any Pisces. Pisces is foggy, right? We always call, because it's Neptune. Neptune's the modern ruler, and often Neptune and Pisces will talk about the word fog,
Mm-hmm.
Clearing the fog, clearing the clouds, clearing the haze, that kind of thing. Beautiful, beautiful. So thank you so much for being.
Well, I just want to say, Lori, if you remember, years ago, you were the one who said to me, you should go on camera. And I was like, I can't, I'm camera shy, I can't do it. And you pushed me to do that. And I've loved this. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you were not that hard to push once I push. I got 4 planets in Aries. Got to give her the Libra a good shove, because all of my planets are in your 7th house. And you just said, okay, I'll do it. And then she was like, everyone in class went, oh my God, she's really good. The scaredy cat's really good. So it's kind of cool. So I want to do something before we finish. I want to show people a picture of your book because I put it on the screen so you guys all see what it looks like. I don't know why it wants to change. I'm on the US site, but anyway, there we have a picture of what it looks like. Yay. And if you want to go grab that book, we're going to have the link below for anyone who wants to learn this discipline. And are you teaching classes as well at this point?
I am. I'm in the middle of an intermediate class right now, and I will start up another beginning class probably in the summer.
Oh, that's so great. So I will put any links to your website where then people can follow through, as well as just to buy the book so that they can study with you. And I guess you're teaching around the world on Zoom, right?
Yes. Thanks to you. I am Zoom friendly. That's right.
I know. That's so great. Oh my gosh. Maybe my sister Cindy will take a class with you. She's been self-teaching herself this Cartomancy tool now for about 3 years. She might have a lot of fun studying with you. I'll mention. Yeah. My sister Cindy's amazing. I love both of you guys. Okay, so thanks for Erika for showing up. I'm going to pause the recording and say goodbye to you separately. If you're listening now in the live premiere or you're watching this later on, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Check out my description box for all things Erika Robison and also, of course, my stuff as well. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And see you on the next video, guys. And everyone have a wonderful afternoon.